In August 2013, the quiet town of Bakersfield, California, was rocked by the shocking discovery of Todd Chance's lifeless body in a remote almond grove. A devoted father and husband, Todd's murder left investigators scrambling to find answers. As they dug deeper, what seemed like a straightforward case quickly turned into something far more complex. With each clue, the mystery only deepened, leaving one pressing question: who wanted Todd Chance dead, and why? Todd Chance, born on March 10, 1968, to Diana and Travis Chance, grew up on a farm in the small town of Shafter, near Bakersfield. Alongside his younger brother Scott, Todd learned the value of hard work at a young age, helping his parents raise livestock like pigs and horses. He was known as a true cowboy, often seen donning his cowboy hat and boots, while off-road riding with his father was one of his favorite pastimes. As a teenager, Todd developed a passion for race cars. His parents gifted him a blue Mustang Cobra when he reached driving age, and it quickly became part of his identity. With his rugged charm and sporty car, Todd never struggled for female attention. His mother, Diana, often joked that he was a magnet for girls, who would leave notes on his car windshield asking him to call them. However, despite the attention, Todd's heart was captured by a young woman named Jania. Jania worked as a cashier at a local pharmacy. Having been through a brief and unhappy marriage that ended due to her ex-husband's infidelity, she was now a single mother to a little girl named Jessica. After her divorce, Jania hoped that her next relationship would be with someone who valued and cherished her. When she first met Todd, who had recently started working as a security guard at the pharmacy, she saw him as a ladies' man. However, after getting to know him, her perception changed. Todd wasn't the player she thought he was. He was kind, caring, and sincere, and he soon fell deeply in love with Jania. He also embraced her daughter, Jessica, treating her as his own. Their love story blossomed quickly, and in 1996, Todd and Jania got married. They expanded their family with two more daughters, Samantha and Sarah. Despite their busy lives, their relationship thrived, and Jania worked multiple jobs while dreaming of earning a degree in education. As Todd pursued his passion for vehicles by becoming a truck driver, Jania continued working toward her goal of becoming an educator. Her hard work paid off, and after starting as a school secretary, she eventually became the principal of Fairview Elementary School. Todd, who had spent over 15 years in the trucking industry, was proud of his wife's success, and their family enjoyed the stability her new position brought. By the summer of 2013, the family was living comfortably, able to afford luxurious vacations and provide a good life for their daughters. They had just returned from an unforgettable trip to San Francisco and Las Vegas, which Samantha and Sarah described as the best summer of their lives. Sadly, this joyful time was soon overshadowed by tragedy. On the morning of August 25, 2013, at 9:27 a.m., the police received a call from workers at an almond grove located about 15 miles from Bakersfield. They had discovered a body. Emergency responders quickly identified the victim as 45-year-old Todd Chance, who still had his wallet and identification on him. His mobile phone was found nearby, and tire tracks indicated that a vehicle had been driven away from the scene. Todd had been shot twice in the chest at close range, and investigators believed one of the bullets had pierced his arm as he tried to defend himself. While Todd's wallet and phone were intact, his prized black 2011 Mustang was missing, leading detectives to initially suspect a carjacking. The investigation kicked off immediately, as authorities sought to piece together how Todd had ended up in such a remote location and why someone would have taken his life. In 2013, residents of a local neighborhood in Bakersfield, California, were puzzled when they saw a sleek black Mustang abandoned in an area notorious for gang activity and illegal drug trade. It seemed out of place for such an expensive car to be left in a district known for high crime rates. Concerned, they reported it to the police, and investigators quickly arrived at the scene. The car was unlocked, and the keys were lying on the floor. Detectives also discovered a revolver with 2 spent casings inside, making them suspect it was the murder weapon. Yet, leaving the gun in the car of the victim, Todd Chance, struck them as unusual. A closer forensic investigation revealed fingerprints and DNA inside the Mustang that belonged to Todd's wife, Jania Chance. Her prints were found on the driver's side door and gear shift, which could be explained by her being his spouse and likely using the car at times. However, it raised questions for the detectives, especially since their initial theory of a carjacking didn't align with the evidence. Why would someone steal a car, kill its owner, and then leave it unlocked with the keys inside? The more investigators uncovered, the more the situation suggested this wasn't a random act, but rather a deliberate attack. Todd cherished his Mustang. It was like a fourth child to him, a symbol of pride and joy. He would never have left it in such a suspicious area by choice. The evidence began to suggest that someone had intentionally left the vehicle in this remote spot to confuse the investigation. The coroner's report further complicated matters, indicating that Todd's death was a calculated execution. He had been shot twice at close range, and either bullet wound could have been fatal. Todd likely died within minutes of the attack, and his body was dumped later at the almond grove where it was discovered. Adding another layer to the mystery, Todd's shoes were completely clean, despite the dusty terrain of the almond grove where his body was found. If he had walked there, his sneakers would have been dusty, which strongly suggested he had been killed elsewhere and brought to the grove afterward. Later that day, the police arrived at the Chance family home to deliver the devastating news of Todd's death. His wife was calm and composed, offering the detectives her full cooperation. She provided them with phone records, bank statements, and a timeline of events from the morning Todd left the house, telling her he was going to a gun show with his father. According to her, Todd left around 7:30 or 8 a.m., while she remained home working on her computer. Their 2 daughters, Samantha and Sarah, confirmed seeing their mother working on the laptop around 9:30 or 10 a.m. When asked to check Todd's gun safe, Jania discovered that his pistol was missing. She found it odd that Todd would have taken the gun, though she speculated he might have planned to trade or sell it at the gun show. The fact that a gun was found in the Mustang made it seem like Todd had been shot with his own weapon. However, when detectives spoke with Todd's father, Travis, a contradiction emerged. Travis denied any knowledge of a gun show and claimed he hadn't seen his son that day. They had no plans to meet up, which was entirely different from what Jania had told the police. This inconsistency raised new questions. Was Jania lying, or had Todd lied to his wife about his plans that morning? Investigators then turned their attention to the supposed gun show. It was real and did take place that morning, but it was located on the opposite side of Bakersfield, far from where Todd's body was found. This further discredited the story of Todd heading to the event. As detectives dug deeper into Todd's phone records, they stumbled upon an unexpected discovery: intimate photos of his ex-fiancée, Carrie Williams. Accompanying the images were flirtatious text messages exchanged between Todd and Carrie, discussing personal matters, including Todd's wife. This revelation shifted the focus of the investigation, as the text suggested Todd may have been rekindling a relationship with his former lover. Jania's calm demeanor during the police's initial visit and her inconsistent account of the events that morning now seemed more suspicious. Detectives theorized that Todd might have been planning to meet Carrie instead of going to the gun show, which could have triggered a jealous confrontation between him and his wife. The investigators began considering the possibility that Jania had discovered Todd's secret correspondence with Carrie and, in a fit of rage, killed her husband. Interestingly, Todd's relationship with Carrie predated his marriage to Jania. While they had broken up on bad terms and hadn't spoken for a long time, they reconnected in 2012, just a year before Todd's death. This newfound connection gave Jania a motive and cast her in a darker light, making her a prime suspect in her husband's murder. The police were initially unsure about Carrie Williams' potential involvement, so they arranged an interview to better understand her connection to Todd. Aside from the intimate photos and messages, Carrie provided a solid alibi. During the time of the crime, she was at a museum with her daughter. Her presence was verified by a parking ticket. Carrie explained that she and Todd had reconnected online after many years, exchanging messages and photos, but they hadn't met in person. With her alibi confirmed, Carrie was ruled out as a suspect. The detectives, still suspicious of Todd's wife, decided to avoid making accusations without concrete proof. Their persistence eventually paid off, as new, unsettling evidence came to light. They already had the victim's phone, gun, and car, but none had revealed foreign fingerprints or DNA. Determined, the police returned to the street where Todd's Mustang had been abandoned. This time, they canvassed the neighborhood, hoping a resident might have noticed something. Several witnesses reported seeing a woman near the car that morning, someone they didn't recognize. The woman, described as middle-aged, was wearing a baseball cap that concealed her hair and large sunglasses that covered most of her face. She exited the black Mustang and walked away. Detectives also identified a few surveillance cameras in the area, and upon reviewing the footage, they saw a figure matching the witness descriptions. The person had a red backpack and carried a plastic bag. There was initial confusion over the suspect's gender, but the video and witness reports confirmed the figure was a woman. The detectives traced her movements through additional surveillance footage. After leaving the Mustang, she entered a nearby fast food restaurant where she changed clothes and shoes in the restroom. In the plastic bag, officers noticed something resembling a container lid, possibly disinfectant wipes, which she likely used to clean the car. After the wardrobe change, the woman was seen near a waste container, making a motion as though discarding something. A camera captured her using a payphone to call a taxi shortly afterward. By tracking the footage, detectives noted the taxi dropped off a passenger at the Chance family home around 10 a.m. Earlier footage had shown Todd's black Mustang driving toward the almond grove at around 8 a.m., where his body was later found. The car was seen returning toward the city at about 8:30 a.m., and again near the area where it was abandoned at 8:57 a.m., right when Todd's body was discovered. Although the surveillance footage strongly suggested Jania was involved, The low quality of the video made it difficult to positively identify her. 4 days after Todd's death, police asked Jania to come to the station to retrieve her husband's car. She arrived with her father-in-law, Travis. The two were questioned separately and shown the surveillance footage. Travis couldn't identify the woman in the footage, stating that he didn't know anyone who would have needed to take Todd's car and abandon it. When Jania was questioned, she also claimed that she did not recognize the person in the video. However, when detectives pressed her further about the possibility that the woman was her, she refused to answer more questions and immediately requested a lawyer. At that point, the police arrested her on suspicion of murdering her husband. Her arrest shocked many who knew the family, splitting the community. Some believed she had killed Todd, while others thought the police had made a mistake. Her daughters were among those who stood by her, convinced of her innocence. While the community debated, detectives searched the Chance family home, confiscating all electronic devices to look for further evidence. However, it would take time to analyze everything. Despite the footage and evidence pointing toward Jania, the district attorney's office felt it wasn't enough to press charges. The poor quality of the footage and the lack of concrete evidence made it difficult to build a case that would hold up in court. After 5 days in custody, Jania was released, and to the surprise of many, she was even given her late husband's Mustang back. Though Jania was freed, she remained the prime suspect. The picture-perfect family, celebrating 17 years of marriage, with well-behaved children and having just returned from a vacation, was now in turmoil. No one had seen any major signs of trouble in their relationship, which only deepened the mystery. While the evidence seemed to point to Jania, proving her guilt in court was another matter entirely. The case, for the time being, stalled. However, the investigators refused to let the case go cold. Over the next several years, they worked tirelessly to gather additional evidence, determined to hold Jania accountable for what they believed was her role in Todd's murder. Eventually, they succeeded. During the Chance family's vacation in Las Vegas, they visited a crime-themed exhibition based on episodes from a well-known TV show in the U.S. At first glance, this visit seemed harmless. However, as the investigation into Todd's murder unfolded, detectives noted eerie similarities between the cases featured at the exhibition and the details of Todd's murder. One of the criminal cases showcased how a suspect used a payphone to avoid being tracked by their mobile phone. Another example involved a woman who killed her husband and then changed her clothes and shoes to avoid leaving microscopic blood evidence behind. Exactly what the perpetrator did in Todd's case, as seen in the surveillance footage. It appeared that Jania might have drawn inspiration from this exhibition on how to commit the crime and cover her tracks. But this wasn't the only incriminating information the police gathered. Her fingerprints were found on Todd's car, specifically on the driver's door and gear shift. When confronted, she insisted she had never driven the car because it had a manual transmission, raising suspicion about how her fingerprints ended up there. Investigators also unearthed surveillance footage from a few weeks before Todd's death, showing Jania in a supermarket asking a salesperson where she could find a payphone. This was odd since Jania had 2 mobile phones, leading the police to question why she needed a payphone. Furthermore, Jania's claim that she had been at home working on her computer the morning of the murder didn't hold up. Forensic analysis revealed that there was no activity on the family's computer until 11 a.m., meaning that she had plenty of time to carry out the crime. The detectives shared the surveillance footage with Todd and his wife's daughters. The eldest, Jessica, initially identified her mother in the footage, even recognizing a red backpack they had at home. However, she later retracted her statement, realizing it could implicate her mother. Sarah and Samantha, the younger daughters, insisted that their mother was home at the time, fully believing in their mother's innocence. Despite the daughters' unwavering support, detectives were convinced that Jania had a motive. One possibility was her discovery of Todd's affair with his ex-fiancée, Carrie. The second, more concrete motive was the $500,000 life insurance policy in Todd's name. As the primary breadwinner, Jania faced the potential of paying alimony if she and Todd divorced, making a separation less appealing. In the end, she managed to receive a large portion of the insurance payout, though Todd's parents, Travis and Diana, fought in court to secure funds for their granddaughters. After years of gathering evidence, 49-year-old Leslie Jania Chance was arrested and charged with Todd's murder in 2016. The trial, which began in December of that year, painted a chilling picture of the events on that fateful morning. Jania and Todd were seen leaving their home together, with Todd driving the car. At some point during the drive, Jania allegedly pulled a gun on him. Todd, attempting to defend himself, stretched out his hand, but the bullet pierced his palm and chest. Jenny then fired a second shot, killing him instantly. Afterward, she dragged Todd's body into the almond grove and drove away, abandoning the car in a rough neighborhood. She took precautions to wipe the car clean with disinfectant wipes, leaving behind the gun and the keys. However, her plan backfired when local residents promptly reported the abandoned Mustang to the police. Her lawyers tried to lean on the alibi provided by her daughters, but the fact that Jania herself had claimed the girls were asleep while she worked on the computer weakened their defense. The lack of activity on the computer until late morning further undermined her claims. During the trial, she maintained her innocence. She claimed to love her husband and denied knowing anything about his virtual affair with Carrie Williams. She also insisted that she didn't need Todd's life insurance money. In a surprising twist, she argued that she had poor eyesight and never wore contact lenses, suggesting that the woman seen in the surveillance footage couldn't have been her because she wouldn't have been able to see clearly with sunglasses on. However, the prosecution presented evidence that Jania had ordered contact lenses just a month before Todd's murder, exposing another lie. On January 31, 2020, the jury found Jania guilty of murdering her husband. The verdict shocked not only Jania, but also her family, especially her daughters, who had never believed their mother was capable of such a crime. In September 2020, she was sentenced to 50 years to life in prison, 25 years for the murder, and an additional 25 years for using a firearm in the commission of the crime. Despite the conviction, she continues to proclaim her innocence, giving interviews in which she asserts that she was wrongfully convicted. In January 2023, she appealed the verdict, but it was upheld. She won't be eligible for parole until 2041. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.